Two.
Check 1, 2. There we go. Okay, so now we've got microphone back. I walked away to get a cup of coffee, and my headset disconnected. So, all right, we're just about to start in fact, we have started the partial eclipse. You can start to see at the very bottom left that the moon has gotten really dark, and I guess we're about a minute or two away from the partial eclipse beginning, but certainly there's a lot of dark penumbral shadow on the moon already, and that's just the warm-up. When the partial eclipse begins, there's a very defined dark arc that goes all the way across and progressively eats the moon, essentially. And while the penumbra sort of fades in from nothing to kind of dark, the umbral shadow, the central shadow of the Earth, that's the part that is kind of red, it is uniformly dark. Well, pretty much uniformly dark. So we'll see that coming in the next couple of minutes, taking a bite out of the side of the moon. Before things get too dark, I'll repeat some of the stuff that I said earlier, just because I don't think the mic was working, but these dark areas on the moon are called Maria, and it's because we used to think they were seas. The most famous one, Mare Tranquillitatis, the Sea of Tranquility over here. The Apollo landing was right in about there, and yes, it happened. That's a whole other conversation, but yes, it absolutely happened. This is the Sea of Serenity, Sea of Crises, there's all these different things. And of course, all the major craters have nice names after various people as well. The bright white ones are quite recent, relatively speaking, and the older craters tend to be a little darker. Down here you've got, that crater, Tycho. And Tycho is got a beautiful ray structure that sort of shoots out from it. The debris basically sprayed all the way across half the moon, pretty much. So it gives a good view of that massive impact kind of situation. Let me get this back where I need it. There we go. So if I switch over to, there's the stellarium view of the moon, and it doesn't do a great job of simulating the shadows very well, but we're almost entering this red line, the shadow of the Earth, the umbral shadow, and so that should be when we really start to see a bite taken out of the moon. I'll be interested to see exactly how close things are. I mean, here it looks like there's definitely something getting darker there, but I think it's mostly just the, we're not, oh no, I think we are starting to see, if I crank up there's definitely some of the umbral shadow on the moon, if we crank up that contrast a little bit. Now, we don't see the red color until probably halfway into the partial eclipse, because the white part of the moon is just so bright that it overwhelms our eyes. But yeah, it's looking good. We've got a great clear night, and so if you have questions, drop them in the chat. Otherwise, just enjoy the view of the almost total lunar eclipse. We're here in Treaty 1 territory in North Winnipeg, broadcasting thanks to my buddy James, who set up a great spot for us, and he's even made us coffee. So, all right, I'll be back in a little while. Sorry about that. I left it on the wrong view for you. Here's the moon, and there we go. Much better now. It's definitely very obvious to the unaided eye. You can see the curved shadow of the Earth cutting across the moon. There's a lot of the subtle shading on the camera image, but that doesn't really show up to the eye. It just looks like there's a bite taken out of the moon, like a cookie with a bite taken out. And yeah, we had the stellarium view to show where the shadow is, but much better to watch the real thing. So we'll just leave it on that. There we go. So we are about 75 minutes away from maximum eclipse. Now this is a partial eclipse, so technically the whole moon won't be eaten by the shadow. There'll be a little bit of sliver along the top part that will never quite disappear. So basically the shadow is here and the moon sort of skims along the top of it, so a little bit never quite goes in. Still though, when the moon is largely immersed, we should be able to see more of the color. We're just going to play around with some exposure here just to see what we can see. Yeah, it's still a little bit too much of the bright moon to really show, but we will get to that color. Now the thing about the color of a lunar eclipse, it's not always red. That's the one that is famous, and you know, lately the media, social media has really focused on the blood moon and stuff like that because that sounds cool. But it has to do with what's in the Earth's atmosphere, because basically all of the light that is hitting the moon during an eclipse is light that is filtered through the Earth's atmosphere, like around the edges of the Earth. The atmosphere sort of curves the light and makes it go into the shadow rather than just going straight, like the moon doesn't have an atmosphere, and so its shadow is just a hard edge. But the Earth has an atmosphere, and so that gives us sort of some of the red light that goes in there. But that assumes that the atmosphere along the edges of the Earth where that is happening is clear. I mean, if it's cloudy, you get less light coming through, so the eclipse will be darker. If it's clear, you get a lot of light through and the eclipse will be brighter. It'll still be in that red end of the spectrum, but it could be a very bright coppery orange, it could be a deep red. Back in the late 80s, I think it was, Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines, a volcano, erupted and put a huge plume of ash into the atmosphere, and the lunar eclipse that year was basically dark gray. There was no red, it was so dark that you couldn't see the moon when it was in its total eclipse. Unless you knew exactly where to look, it basically disappeared. So you do get a lot of variation in the color. You never quite know what to get, and we can't even forecast it because there's just too many variables involved. There's actually some citizen science being done tonight by measuring exactly when various craters go into the shadow. We can compare the calculated size of the Earth's shadow, which is affected by our atmosphere and stuff like that, with what actually happens, and that helps refine our models of how the atmosphere works and things like that, which is kind of cool. You know, the idea that, you know, we've watched these lunar eclipses for thousands of years, and there's still actual science that you can do just by observing them and you know, timing things and so on. In fact, I think I will turn on. Where is that setting? Somewhere here I can turn on the timestamp on the frames, so I can go back and do that after the fact. Oh, there it is, timestamp frames. So now the GPS time that I've got a GPS receiver plugged into the computer, and it's updating the computer clock. And so this is basically GPS time on there, and so I can go back and measure those times and send them in and do a little bit of science from this as well. Okay, so the moon's up pretty high now. Even if you live in a place where there's, buildings or houses around you, you can probably get a view of it. From where we are, it is clear from horizon to horizon, just beautiful. Nice and cool, but not too cold. The wind has died down, so it's a great night to be outside. Get out there and take a peek at the moon. See it for real. It's nice to see it online and stuff, but get out under the real sky and get a view if you can. Let's just see who else has popped into the chat. Oh, Andrew, Lake of the Woods, nice. Yeah. That's a great place for stargazing. Oh, and Hollis, you're with us too. Great. Okay. So, Kim asks, are we seeing any red yet? Yeah, I have not seen any red. We've got a couple of local lights here that are providing some glare. If I block them out and I just see the moon, the shadow, I might convince myself, is kind of brownish rather than blackish, but that's really it. Oh no, maybe. I should pull out the binoculars and take a peek. We've got a couple of visual scopes here where people are watching, and then there's about half a dozen smart scopes, and it looks like somebody's brought a C8, and there's a nice 140 millimeter ASCAR here that's just beautiful, and folks with telephoto lenses and stuff like that. It's a good little group here. But yeah, I think I'm going to grab my binoculars and see if I can see any of the color. So the timing the craters, I signed up for that webinar that talked all about it, and I didn't watch it live, and then I didn't have time to get to it, so I don't know what I fully need to do. So I figured what I would do is, since I'm shooting video anyway, I would just put the times on and be able to do it after the fact from the video. I got a GPS. It's a little USB GPS receiver. It looks like a thumb drive, except it has a GPS antenna, and then it gives the 1 PPS pulse per second flashes on an LED, so you can use it as a flash timer, or you can use it for conditioning your PC clock to get better things, to get better times and stuff like that. For I think it might be good enough to do for lunar occultations. I know for asteroid occultations, the PC conditioning is still not the preferred way, but because it has the flash, you can just put it on like a USB extension cord and hold it in front of the telescope, so it flashes a few times, and that gives you your time reference. So that's kind of where that is. I'll send you the stuff offline. I forget what it is, but on the IOTA groups forums, there's a guy who basically has done a whole bunch of how-to documents for using PC discipline GPS or GPS discipline PC clock timing for occultations. And James, thanks for popping in. He's about 6 meters to my left right now, but yeah, he's got visual going. He's got smart scope going. There's a lot of gear out here, actually. Kind of cool. I'm going to grab my binoculars, and then I will be back with you in just a little bit. Hopefully we'll be able to see a little bit more of the red color. back. I just did a little tour of the various scopes that are here, and man, there's some good views. It's just, you know, folks from the astronomy club and stuff like that. We will gather together to do some stuff like this, and yeah. Let's see. Oh, Andrew says clear here, perfect night for it. Cool, no bugs. Yeah. Well, we've got some mosquitoes here. I'm pretty susceptible to mosquitoes, and so they find me wherever I am. But as it's cooling off, they're starting to go away. Hollis. Oh, a little bit of clouds. Hey. Oh, too bad. Yeah, we got to get up early as well, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. I'm glad you could stick with us for a little while. Good to see you. And Kim, oh, Kenora, yes. I've got friends that have a cabin out that way, and just beautiful dark skies. And if you got a clear night, it's fantastic. It's a great night for watching the eclipse. Thanks for sticking with us here. And let's see, 10:13. So we're about an hour away from maximum eclipse. And this is not a total eclipse, so we will only see about 95% of the moon in the Earth's shadow. The very top part of the moon on this particular view will remain white, essentially, and won't be in the dark umbral shadow. Hopefully, that will still allow the color to come through, because frankly, to the unaided eye right now, with the moon about half eclipsed, you can see that the shadow is not black or gray, but it's a reddish brown color. And you know, as more of the bright part of the moon is covered, that's just going to become more and more visible. I'm going to play around with the camera here and just see if we can get a little bit more of the color. That's not what I want, but let's do a little adjustments here. Yeah, so I'm doing a pretty short exposure right now, and so I think I'm going to have to bump it up to get, it'll overexpose the bright part of the moon, but it'll give us some of that view of the rest, view of the dark part of the shadow. Oh yeah, there's I got to do a color balance there, but if I crank it down, you can start to see the red color there. Let me get a better view of that. I'm just going to go a little bit longer even still. Yeah, there we go. Heading in the right direction. There we go. Okay, I turned off the auto white balance too. And that's part of it. So you're definitely getting a little bit of that red color there. There we go. So we're overexposing the bright part of the moon so we can see into the shadow and see some of the color there. If we go back to sort of the auto setting, you wind up with that, where the shadow just looks black. So if you're taking pictures with your phone might not know what to do with this. And so that's where having a camera that you can adjust, or knowing how to adjust your camera, comes in handy. And you can still get surprising results with a cell phone camera, but the more options you have, and the more experience you have, the better chance you have of getting that really nice picture. So yeah, it's a pretty nice night. The sky's still perfectly clear. Saturn has not risen quite yet. Actually, it might have risen, but we've got a little bit of tree and a couple of signs off in that direction, so maybe it's just not cleared those yet. But pretty nice view of the eclipse. Pamela, oh, not able to see the color with your eyes just yet, but hopefully soon. Yeah. So what I recommend is hold your arm up in front of you, and here, let's see if I can get a little bit of light on the situation. Can you? Let me see if I'm visible on the camera. I'll adjust things there. Let's see. Well, there's a little bit of me. Okay. Anyway, you can kind of see me a little bit with my cell phone illuminated. I like to hold my arm up in front of my face like this to block out any ground lights. And then with the other hand, which I can't really demonstrate, bring it sort of up above the moon and try and block out just the bright part of the moon so that all you can see is the shadowed part of the moon, and then the color becomes easier to see. If you've got a lot of lights around you, that can definitely interfere. Any of the bright lights just sort of overwhelm the color sensors, and the glare just makes it too hard to see. But if you can sort of block it out, or even, you know, hold up your hands in like a square pattern or a rectangle pattern, and just get the moon area in there, that might be a way to help. If you have binoculars, that definitely helps. Binoculars just let you see the color a little bit easier. All right, let us set this back to our original view. This is kind of the view that we're seeing naked eye, I guess. Yeah, kind of like that. I want to get the color back to realistic. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, half narrating as I adjust all the camera specifications and things like that. Yeah, as we adjust the contrast, the red really jumps out. But there we go. I was telling one of the guys across the way earlier that usually when you look at the full moon, it just looks like a cardboard cutout, or like a disc, a flat disc, because there's no 3D from like the shadows or things like that you'd be able to see. But during an eclipse, for some reason, maybe it's the lighting or maybe it's just a suggestion effect, it really looks 3D, like it looks like you're looking at a sphere that has depth to it. I mean, you can also see the relief at any phase other than full moon, because you've got the sunlight coming from one side or the other, and the mountains cast shadows and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff there. But at full moon, it really looks flat, except during an eclipse. And I've confirmed that with looking through the telescopes here, and I'm just pulling up the binoculars now, and it really does look like a globe, which of course it is. But I understand why people think sometimes that maybe it isn't, because it doesn't look like it. But when you see it during an eclipse, there's no doubt. Okay, so we're 40 minutes, 50 minutes away from maximum eclipse. So just get out and take a look at it every 5 minutes or so, and I can really see the color with the unaided eye now. It's a very dark, dusky, sort of orange-brown color. It's not like laser pointer red, but it's got sort of, it's like a an ember that's almost burning out in the fire kind of color. So, yeah, let's watch together, and we'll get towards maximum eclipse. We'll see you in a bit. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. There we go. Okay. So, the red-brown color is definitely visible to the eye. On the camera here, it looks a little exaggerated, and I think that's because the camera color balance didn't really have a good reference point to get to. So I'm kind of adjusting it on the fly as we go to try and match essentially the visual view. So here we have a pretty nice view, and as I tweak the contrast, you know, that's kind of the, actually maybe I'll leave this like this and we'll just adjust the exposure here. So, you know, you've kind of got the edge of the shadow. We can see when the exposure is set for that, we can see that it's kind of red, and then as I make the exposure longer, it shows more of the shadow, and it really starts to show the reddish color in that. And let's see, that's pretty close to what we're seeing visually, I think. The color's still a little bit off from the visual view, but that's, I think, somewhat to be expected. The moon, normally we would set this on the moon as a white balance, essentially, so that white would be white and all the colors would be set. But because the moon rose and it was still kind of orangey red, and then the eclipse started right away, we didn't have that opportunity. But still, pretty good. And everybody's having a good time out here. Got some nice views, some nice, a few of the smart scopes are doing time-lapse images so that you can sort of see the change of the thing. My scope's been doing 45 minutes or so of time-lapse images, and I'll put them together into a video a little bit later. There we go. Yeah, it's a pretty nice night, I gotta say. Quite happy with the weather and with just the way things are turning out. There we go. That's a little bit better. The camera that's pointing towards me is probably of limited value at this point, but I don't want to really adjust any of the gear at this point. It'd be just my luck to unplug the wrong thing in the dark. So if I'm looking at the moon through binoculars, the white part looks white with perhaps a little tinge of yellow, but then the shadow actually has a bunch of colors. Like it's kind of dusky gray, just inside the shadow, and then it sort of shades up into sort of an orangey red color, and right at the far bottom edge of the moon, it's definitely like a red.
Are you live, Scott?
Yeah.
Is that double star on the left-hand side of the moon there?
That's
looking down below and kind of.
Okay.
I see something right there.
Okay, let me just.
I think it feels like it's too low.
Well, let me see. Oh, I went to too long of an exposure here. We're just going to look for...
It's about 8 o'clock from the moon.
8 o'clock from the moon, okay.
57 or Sigma Aquarius. Is that a double... Is that it?
I'm not sure.
3.7 arc seconds? Okay. Will it... Once we
No. Check. There we go. Okay, mic's back. So we've just been, there's a bunch of stars that various visual observers can see in the field of view with the moon, and we're wondering which ones are going to be eclipsed by the moon and which ones are just in the background and so on. So if we crank up the exposure, you can see that right up there, there's a star that the moon has missed essentially. And if we crank up just a little bit more, there's another one right about there. Oh, that's not in the field of view for you guys, so let me bring that back. So sort of right about there. There's another star that's very faintly seen. So the moon is actually going to move right across that in about, half an hour or so. But it's hard to see these things near the moon because the moon is so bright. Hey folks, we're back. Hey Brian, nice to see you. You on the shores of Lake Winnipeg. Yeah, it would be great to see you over the lake. Oh, Sylvia and Stan, how you guys doing? It is a beautiful night, isn't it? It's pretty nice to get out here. And let's see here. Yeah, cool. Lots of folks checking in and saying hi. Where we are, we've got sort of 3 or 4 big security lights shining in our face, and then the moon's up above that. So I have to block that out to have any chance of seeing the color. But even still, because the moon still has that sort of little bright hat on top, the part that's not in the shadow, the color doesn't jump right out at you. It definitely has an orange hue to it now. And in the next I guess 15-20 minutes, we'll get to maximum eclipse, and that will be the best time to see the color, I think. But still pretty good. Hopefully you get a chance. I know it can be hard, Pam, with the all the surrounding lights. Hey Jim, nice to hear from you. You've got to have a great view. No bugs, nice. We still have quite a few mosquitoes here, but they stop biting once you run out of blood, so it's all good. We're having a good time here too. There's probably, there's a dozen people here or so with their scopes and stuff. It started off with just a couple of us doing the stream, and then a couple of other people asked if they could come along, and sort of grew to a larger group here, which is always nice. It's nice to be, not sitting in the middle of a field by yourself. Who else do we have here? We have a question. Kim's grandson is asking what happens after the maximum eclipse. Does it fade away or move off the moon, and from where? So yeah, basically the moon keeps moving, and the shadow will basically look like it moves off the right side of the moon. It's actually the moon moving towards the left, but the shadow will basically, it's sort of crept on from the bottom left, and it'll move off to the bottom right, and then it will go off the moon. So that happens over about till probably 12:30. That's when the partial eclipse will end. And yeah, so that's what'll happen. It doesn't fade away instantly. It's just that because it's such a long event, usually people watch to the maximum eclipse, and then everything after that is kind of similar. And so, if you've been out here and you're starting to get cold, or you have to work in the morning, it's a good time to pack it in. We're going to stick around for throughout the partial eclipse, I think, though, as long as the weather's good. Annie is out in Prairie Oak Campground. That's nice. And Brian, yeah. So when you're shooting an eclipse, if you're taking pictures, you really want to be able to. We used to call it bracketing exposures. You take a picture of what the exposure is supposed to be, but then you take 2 or 3 pictures with the next notch up on your exposure, and then 2 or 3 pictures a notch down each one. So you're taking 5 or 6 different range. Nowadays it's called HDR photography, where you take all these different things, then combine them and stuff like that. But really what you're doing is you're just trying to find the one that gives you the picture that you want, because the image is very subjective. Some people want to see just the color, some people don't want the bright part of the moon overexposed. It's an artistic balance. And then you also wind up with the fact that the shadow is not a known brightness before the eclipse. So it's not like you can predict exactly what the exposure should be. So frankly, you just shoot a whole bunch of different exposures and see which one turns out the best. Nowadays, you can shoot all your exposures, look at it on the back of the camera and say, oh, that's the one that I like, and then just keep shooting that one. Back in my day, back in the film days, you'd shoot all these random exposures of different things, and then not know if any of them turned out until you developed the film. So it's nice to be able to get that instant feedback. But yeah, the more sometimes you overexpose the bright part, and it brings out the details of the shadow. Sometimes you take an exposure that shouldn't work, and yet you love the way the picture turns out. So definitely experiment, because that's how you find out what you really are, what you really like in terms of the exposures. There's like a bright spot right on the very top of the moon there. It must be a reflection or something related to the eclipse. I don't recall it being there before, so I'm just going to play around with the exposures a little bit. Whoa, that's too much. Okay, we'll keep this. We'll bring up some exposure. There we go. You want to get over there. Get in line in that telescope and look at Saturn's rings.
Oh no, I'm okay.
What do you mean you're okay?
Like you've seen pictures right in a magazine or online, but you're seeing that with your eyeball. That's traveled a billion kilometers or whatever it is.
Yes. Excellent. That's what she said.
Oh, sorry.
Really cool.
I was making sure for you. Who's next?
The Milky Way behind the observatory.
Yeah.
Now, was that two shots or?
It was that.
But was that the actual position of the
So,
Milky Way?
here we are. Let's see.
Yeah.
We're coming up. I mean,
Yeah.
technically we still have 15 minutes to go till maximum eclipse, but it'll be very similar to this. And
But I was just wondering if you actually got to the red angle.
I'll wait until the other conversations are done.
That was just there.
Okay, here we are. So we're still almost 15 minutes away from maximum eclipse, but it's not going to look substantially different than it does now. That little bright part is going to slide over to the right, over to the left, pardon me, and then the shadow will start moving off the moon. So this is kind of this is the time to go outside and look for the color. The bright part of the moon is as small as it's going to be, basically, and the color it's subtle. It's not as bright as I've seen it in other eclipses, I guess there's still a contrast effect with having that bright bit of the moon visible. But there's some orange there, orangey brown, I would say. A fairly bright eclipse. But yeah, it's a nice night. We're still out here being eaten by mosquitoes and so on. Let me see here. Okay, there we go. It's a pretty good view overall. Been tweaking the exposure back and forth a little bit to just see what we can see. If we crank up the exposure, sort of shows a little bit more what the dusky color is like. Maybe kind of like that. But our eyes can really adapt a lot better than cameras can for this kind of exposure. You can process these images, but in terms of just a live view through a camera, our eyes are actually pretty darn good at seeing bright and dark areas compared to the camera. Let's see. I'm just going to try some really long exposures here and see how those turn out. Yeah, definitely sort of emphasizes the coloration, but it doesn't look very natural. I still think my favorite view of this eclipse has been in binoculars, and that's almost always the case. I've got a set of binoculars I got here at, I don't know, Canadian Tire or someplace for about $100, and they perform really well in terms of the things you can see. And they're pretty intuitive to use. You just sort of put them up to your eyes and look at stuff. It's not complicated like a telescope, or no complicated gear or things like that. They're pretty easy to figure out how to use, so they're a great starting place for doing astronomy. If you want to do astronomy there we go. There we go. Yeah, I think the binocular view is definitely the best one. We did get a chance to see Saturn through the visual telescope. Unfortunately, we don't have a camera-equipped telescope that will show it very well, that we can put on the stream. But that just means we're going to have to do a special Saturn night. Maybe in a month or so, when Saturn's rising a little earlier, we can just do a special Saturn night where we'll throw the telescope on and check out Saturn's rings. That's a pretty amazing sight. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, like and subscribe, as they say. If you're joining us through the Manitoba Museum's page, you'll find out about live events like eclipses and our Dome at Home show. If you were more interested in the live telescope events, I tend to do those on my Scott the Skywatcher page, because they will sometimes just happen, you know, without too much notice, because there's a clear night and I have the time to do it. So like and subscribe to Scott the Skywatcher if you want to see that kind of stuff. Yeah, we'll be back just in time for maximum eclipse, which is in about 9 minutes. I'll be back in a bit.